Hello, I'm Mabel Zhang, and you're watching the World Healthcare Congress Interview Zone, and I'm very pleased to welcome back Stan Nowak, who is CEO of Silverlink Communications. How are you?
Thank you very much, Mabel. Great.
Well, you presented at a session today, and your theme was True North. Can you give me some details of that?
Yeah, so True North was the theme for the session, really because, in this age of consumer healthcare and the ACA implementation, we think that consumers are going to need more navigational aids through the system than they've ever needed before. We've got 7 million people who are new to insurance and in many ways new to healthcare. It's certainly a new model, so folks are going to need help finding direction in this new world for them. So that was the theme of the session. We were there with Aetna, who's a longtime client, and they were talking about specific programs that we had run together with them to help guide consumer decisions through some clinical programs that they run.
Now, we talked a little bit last year about moving from a wholesale market to a retail market and really getting consumers engaged in the process.
Right.
How do we keep consumers from getting engagement fatigue?
Yeah.
Really inundating them with too much information. How do we not do that?
Huge issue, and generally consumers have fatigue from a lot of the engagement they're getting from many sources. But in healthcare, engagement is an uncontrolled process. In fact, some of the health plans that we talk to have 10,000 different communications that go from the health plan to consumers. So we really very much are overwhelming consumers, and certainly for certain segments of your population, you're doing we are overwhelming that population. So it's a huge priority. And the way you can get there is by looking through the consumer lens. What's the consumer experience holistically? It's difficult in healthcare because it's so fragmented and stovepiped, but we found ways, and we're working with clients now, to help modulate and control a consumer experience through their life cycle. And remember, with health insurance, the only experience you have is communication.
Right.
There is no, the insurance company isn't your doctor. It's your explanation of benefits. It's your call to the call center. It's your nurse helpline. It's your disease management program. Those are all communications-based experiences, and communication is the only experience. So it really is time to rationalize that, to think about the totality of the consumer experience across their life cycle, and to organize it well. But we're still young in that, surprisingly. Right.
Now, what is Silverlink bringing to the table here? How do you work with clients to get them where they need to be?
So we, as you know, we've done about 1 billion consumer engagements over the past decade, and so in many respects, in terms of the consumer outreach and the lack of cohesion, we've been part of the problem for 10 years. And so, but we've brought new technology and capabilities to the table recently, something we call Engage Me, which allows you to look at a longitudinal member engagement experience. So you can look at a consumer through their life cycle and look at everyone who's contacted this member for whatever purpose, so that you can now aggregate that and look at the consumer experience across multiple engagement settings. So I think that's a significant new capability that we're bringing to the market, which allows you to, first see and then control member experience across the life cycle.
And is there a common theme through most consumers on what they respond well to?
Well, when you don't have a common theme, we look at the data. So we can look at the data across different engagement settings and look at what works well and what doesn't. So our business is really founded on champion-challenger experimentation. What works best? How do you sequence communications? How many communications is the right amount? But you'll find that in certain parts of the business, like pharmacy, where you're conditioning behavior over time, you actually increase engagement with the more communications you do, surprisingly. And healthcare, the managed care part of the world, really needs that modulated, value-added, and systematic communication to help them condition behavior so that they can be a trusted advisor to consumers. But again, looking at the consumer experience is somewhat at odds with departmental initiative. So, we fight that sort of every day in helping to enable people to at least see the data, to see where consumer experience is in conflict with multiple little departmental initiatives. So it's, as I say, it's early, but healthcare needs to get there, and it needs to get there fast.
So Stan, we've heard a lot about companies trying to still deal with old technology, maybe 30 plus years old, and cobbling that with the new technology that's coming in. How is that going to all pan out, and how long will it take before everyone's on the same page?
It's going to take it's going to continue to take some time, but we see new urgency around this really because of the ACA implementation and the consumerization of the marketplace. So those are dual initiatives that are driving cost out of the model. In other words, you have to deliver your services for less cost, and you're dealing with a consumer, an individual consumer, which is a higher cost transaction, right? I mean, think about it. Consumers, who's the HR department for a consumer, right? It's the health plan, right? So they need to answer all those questions. So that's a higher cost customer, and at the same time, the ACA and the contraction in administrative costs is driving tremendous cost control initiatives. The two of those things together means you have to use technology more aggressively to drive your cost point down. At the same time, you've got this higher touch individual that you need to manage.
Okay.
So that's creating real urgency now, and that's a very good thing for folks that are in the world of adopting technology. And
any new initiatives that company has planned to address the ongoing challenges in the sector?
Well, it's, we see this market, certainly the newness of the ACA implementation is what's defining a lot of the market today. And we see it replaying a lot of the things that were done in Medicare Part D. Remember in 06 we had a new population, a new benefit that was a high consuming market that was consuming as individuals. And that was, we saw that roll out, and we're really seeing a lot of the same behaviors today, which is the first focus is just to comply with the rules, right? So every one of our clients is busy trying to comply with the rules. At the same time, they're reacting to what's happening in the call centers, and their call centers are getting a whole bunch of confused consumers that are overwhelming their call centers, and you've heard some of the horror stories about wait times in call centers.
Yeah.
So that's really the first phase. We think it's critical that people get off on the right foot with this new type of consumer to help them understand, what it means to, you shouldn't go to the emergency room anymore. You have insurance, you have a primary care provider, you have to use a network, right? You think about what a new consumer has to experience now and has to do. It's not obvious, and it's certainly not obvious to them if they haven't been in the insured marketplace before. So getting them off on the right foot is very important, especially to break those behaviors that have been high cost and not effective, like emergency room utilization for basic primary care stuff.
All right. Well, wise words. Thank you so much, Stan.
Absolutely.
I really appreciate your time, and we look forward to checking in with you again next year.
Thank you so much, Mabel.
And I'm Mabel Zhang. Thanks for watching.